On the Spot with LuxLiv, talking property, business and success in real estate.
But you didn't get cool sparkles, only I did.
Because
you don't have the timer. You don't have the sand timer, that's why.
Yeah. And that's definitely, I feel a little bit like there's some prejudice going on. Like you're getting special treatment on your side.
I'll send you the shopping list. You need to acquire all the sparkly bits, otherwise your video won't get sparkles. Yeah.
No, cool.
So good morning.
Good morning.
You say you haven't gone for a run yet, but you will be.
Yeah, I will be doing that. And yeah, we got some inventory we need to get live as well. And that's Stellenbosch inventory that we got. So I had to get the service provider to load that area because I actually didn't even have the area on the system. So yeah, so hopefully get that up today. And I believe you're saying I'm coming up to Joburg to run or to Gauteng to run. So I guess yes. I will need to be practicing. What are we doing there? Are you doing a 10K or what are you
21.
doing? You're doing a 21?
21, yes.
Wowee. Okay, sure.
And when people say it's long and boring, the faster you run, the shorter and less boring it will be.
Yeah.
So we need to go for the length and the speed.
What are you doing to prepare for that?
So short sprints, 30 second, 1.5 minute walk, 30 second sprints all out, 6.
Yeah.
But I've literally started this week because it seemed very easy.
Yeah, but it's October only, isn't it? So it's quite a way to go.
It's October, we've got plenty of time. Yeah, we would have lost all the winter weight by then. We'll be lean and mean, fast.
Yeah. So, like I said to you, when I did the 10K Weskus Marathon, I think I did 4 runs in total. And then just one warm-up run a few days before the time. And I think even that little warm-up run a few days before the time makes all the difference when it comes to getting ready for it. But yeah, I don't know how that will work with the 21K. The 21K requires a little bit more commitment and being intentional, huh?
Yeah, I mean, technically you can still walk it.
Yeah.
It will take you 4 hours. So, I mean, that's like half an audible book, you know?
Yeah.
So you just listen to a book and you sort it. Or you talk to your fellow, you know, LuxLiv colleagues.
Yes.
Though we don't have many takers actually for the 21. It's mostly the 5K takers, but give me time by October.
Yeah, but even if they're participating in the 5K, that's pretty cool. These days we very rarely actually get out, so that's awesome.
Yeah, well, you guys should be getting out a lot because doesn't everyone talk about Western Cape? We all want to go there to walk by the beach. So I imagine all day, every day, people walking by the beach and admiring the scenery.
Yeah, no, of course. That's why we need to end promptly at 9 o'clock because I need to do that walk on the beach. I have to meet with all my fellow Western Capers to go for our group walk on the beach.
And admiring of scenery.
Exactly. Absolutely, yeah. And we don't have wind here either. It's like totally not wind. There's no wind on this side at all.
No wind. Okay.
Great
Good weather, sunny.
Exactly. Not like you guys who are having thunderstorms and it actually looked like apocalypse there on your side for a long time.
It's like literally daily rain. Rains again as we speak.
Really, yeah?
So, yeah. So I am unimpressed because, I'm waiting for that global warming to heat us up a little bit. So far, we're just getting the global raining.
But this time of the year, isn't this actually the time that you guys do have the most rain? When is the time, or is it summer that you guys have the rain the most?
The most rain should be December, January, as far as I know.
Okay. Yeah, I'm out of touch. I'm out of touch with what the weather is like in Joburg. It's been so long since I've been there. So.
You just know the direction of the wind, the Cape Townian, what is it? Depending which side of town you are, you need to know where to close off your balcony.
Yeah, you actually, people design their homes to avoid that, so you don't have to close the balcony. So they all turn their homes away from the wind. That's how homes get designed these days, so that you can avoid it. So, but yeah, you also get used to it. Now in winter, we don't really have it so much. So, and that's also why a lot of the kite surfers that usually come through to the Western Cape, they all hit the road as well around April, May.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how is it with the market? Because we actually, Gauteng, we started January full of hope and excitement, and we thought it's going to be a year much stronger than last year. So far, no.
Yeah.
It's been very flat, actually. Similar to actually what we saw last year. The first half of the year, everyone was holding their breath for the elections. Now we thought there's no reason. There's been those tiny little interest drops. But now we've got the VAT looming. So Gauteng definitely, till now, quite flat.
Okay, that's interesting. I also thought that it would have gone up. You and I both read the same article. I remember you chatting about it, or you may even have shared it in our group, about reverse immigration with Western Cape people going back to Joburg. And I do think that is actually, I mean, I have heard instances, let me say rather, where people are doing that. I know of a family that I know both partners couldn't support the home that they were living in. And so they've now made a move back to the Free State because one of their partners wants to carry on with their studies. So that's how they're sort of combating the cost of living because, it's super expensive to even rent in the Western Cape. And when I was doing the homework on what's available, even some of the clients of ours that have wanted to find a place to rent here for 6 months on long term, there's really no options. It's actually so interesting. I've never seen anything like it. You look up in an area and you look at a 1-bedroom apartment and you won't find anything under 10,000. There's nothing under 10,000. And when they are available, then you have like five or six units available to choose from. And a lot of them are dated and need love. So it's very interesting, actually. I think I've become aware of it now in the last year or two. Like I would say a year and a half. I've just become aware of how there's just no places for people to live here. It's interesting. Yeah.
It's insane because also I was looking at some of these clients that we've got who want to invest.
Yeah.
The German couple that we've got, and I thought they had a very decent budget.
Yeah.
I know in Gauteng I would have found them 2 investment properties for their budget. And it seems to be an absolute uphill challenge. How has that journey been?
Well, it is. It's. I said to you as well when you listed that beautiful home for 45 million now recently. It was such a in-your-face moment to see that you get this incredible home in Gauteng for 45 million, and then when you go to a more expensive suburb in Cape Town, then you get a 3-bedroom apartment for that. It's just, the comparisons are just insane, honestly. I mean, then it makes you wonder, why don't they buy the 45 million rand home rather than Gauteng? Because that's like you really living like a king there. It's, you guys have got it good when it comes to real estate.
Yeah. But what is the situation now with investment properties? Or first of all, why is there nothing? Are there so many people coming in still from various parts of South Africa and then going into foreigners investing? What is the reason why you can't find a decent 2-bedroom apartment for what we're looking at? 5.5, 6 million, 5 million?
So the main reason why there's no inventory for rental is because of the extreme interest in short-term lets here in the Western Cape. So those who are not able to buy them, they rent out properties they'll do sublease agreements with landlords in order to bring those properties to the Airbnb market, because it is an extremely profitable venture in the Western Cape, especially around Cape Town itself. A lot of it's actually more affordable also to take it from that angle, because with the prices what they currently are in instances, places like Joburg, which is a very popular location because of the kite surfers, you're looking at getting a 1-bedroom for around 1.8. Okay, and that's like a reasonable sized one. That's not around like the 50 squares.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is 50 squares the reasonable size?
That's reasonable at that price, yeah. So I suspect that it will probably shift up from 1.8 during the course of this year, just because of how prices inflate here. It's just insane. We have, I would say, year on year, you're looking at around like 9% growth in capital, which is insane. Like, it's really insane. Yeah, so that is kind of the situation. People, the inventory that is available or that comes available from the long-term market gets sucked up by these guys who are doing the short-term letting. A lot of them are individuals. It's not necessarily hosting companies that are doing that, because I think the majority are actually held by individuals, not by hosting companies. And so to give you an idea, at the moment, there is, and it's probably a little bit more because this figure was taken in September last year, but September last year, the figure was like 19,000 short-term lets on the market in Cape Town.
Wow.
Yeah, it's literally the biggest, it's one of the biggest rental markets, short-term rental markets in the world. And yeah, when you compare it to other parts of South Africa, it is the third highest earning. The first highest being, just trying to remember now, the first highest, I know Dolphin Coast was number 2. And then, Mpumalanga, actually, interestingly enough, was number 1. Yeah. Mpumalanga was making the most. And then it was Dolphin Coast, and then it was Cape Town. So
I'm actually very surprised.
Me too. I was also shocked by that. Yeah, Dolphin Coast makes sense because Dolphin Coast, you obviously got Zimbali there, you got Bonito, which are all very popular places for holiday makers. And then, Western Cape. Sorry, not Mpumalanga, man. It was Hermanus. Sorry, Hermanus.
Okay.
Hermanus.
So trying to figure out, what amazing tourist attractions are there
in
for
Mpumalanga, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from.
I mean, there are. I just didn't know that they're more popular. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Hermanus.
Yeah. So luckily we prevented people from investing in Mpumalanga. But in Hermanus, the rates of occupation it's around the 52, and the Western Cape has got the best at around 71%. So you're almost guaranteed occupancy if you price yourself correctly in the Western Cape. So that's really the problem. And then people who are buying are now, it's starting to become more foreign investors because of the affordability situation. And 2 bedrooms now in the Waterkant, which are the more popular options, they are starting at like 3 million. And that's not like a big apartment. That's also around 60 to 80 squares. Which is just insane, actually. It's really crazy.
But I mean, it's considered affordable, but I guess compared to New York, but it's rapidly reaching the rates that you see in Europe, where property is considered very expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it is affordable anymore. Maybe what people are saying for the more wealthier population as an investment. But if a youngster, 25-year-old, first job, what are the chances of affording one of these apartments as a bond repayment? No,
there's no way. Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem, is that people who want to live in the Western Cape can't afford to do it. And there's a huge uproar about the public. I mean, when we ran a campaign reaching out to Frederhoek, remember, you ended that campaign because there was so much hate. You were scared for my life if I had to go to Frederhoek.
True.
So the people are very up in arms about short-term letting being allowed in the Western Cape. They don't want it anymore. And that's why some suburbs like Sea Point, a lot of the buildings, they have also now started to block people from doing short-term letting. Stellenbosch also, with that German family that we were chatting about, that was one of the key selling points for them. Is a place that they can do short-term letting because they're not going to be there all the time. And out of, I think, 9 or 10 developments that we found being built and that are already existing, there was only one that we had that we could share with them as an option. So yeah, people are definitely, the government is not making any changes to curb the short-term rental market. And from what I understand, it seems as if they actually don't want to. They would rather find alternative solutions to not to affect the tourism. They want to keep the tourism interest high and find more affordable options for South Africans by releasing land in the Western Cape that's owned by the government in order to create more affordable housing options for those people in the city centres and in the more popular surrounding areas.
Okay, so is that happening now? The government is releasing land.
Yes, so I don't speak pro rata, or not pro rata. What's the word for it? When you finish someone else's sentence, or you say what someone else says. So, but Jordan Hill Lewis had mentioned that he's releasing land. So,
okay.
Yeah, I know there's a big parcel of land that's being opened between Sea Point and Green Point for more affordable housing. And I know that they are planning on releasing more land in the city centre as well in order to create more affordable housing projects.
That will be interesting to see because with that goes more roads, more vehicles.
Yeah.
And then how do you prevent the person who is the speculative investor from buying that affordable housing to then turn it into...
That's very true.
Interesting.
So we'll see how that plays out.
It will take, a good 5 years?
I do know when it comes to infrastructure, there's also plans for further improvements. They are relooking. I don't know if you've ever seen those roads that are sort of incomplete. They've been incomplete in the city. They've been incomplete from the early 1980s already, or maybe even sooner than that, or earlier than that. And they're now trying to figure out a plan in order to create more public transport using that infrastructure. One of the conversations that was being had was a rail line that comes up over that, and then you would have one of those incomplete bridges as a station. And you climb off on that station So there's a lot of infrastructure improvements happening in order to cater for that. So I think that they would be ready for more people streaming in. I think we've been having that for a while already, since I got to the Western Cape, where people are just coming in the droves and people trying to find places to live. So, just if you're watching and you want to live in the Western Cape, don't expect a luxury home with 12K.
Not.
No.
So what would, if I wanted to replicate a nice 3-bedroom house, not too big, let's say the land 500 square meter and the house itself 200 square meter, 250, what we would get here, let's say in midstream for about 28,000 rand, 25 to 28,000 rand per month rent. What would I be in for that side?
Well,
in a good suburb?
You would have to find one first because there's no inventory. We have an American client of ours that was looking to move here for 6 months of the year because he wanted to get a sense for what it's like to live in the Western Cape. And his budget, he was looking at spending about 30,000 for a 3-bedroom house, and there was no inventory. I had looked all around, and there was literally, when I say no inventory, I don't mean like there was nothing suitable. I mean like there was no inventory. Yeah. It's
suitable, not suitable.
No, there's literally nothing available. And then when there was one, I think there was maybe, out of all the areas we've looked, I even had considered, or I had even shown them properties in Langebaan, alternatives, but it was just too far out for them. But I think I probably was able to share about 9 options with them in the whole of Cape Town.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I guess if you are going to Airbnb the space for what would you be looking at on a 3-bedroom, you'll probably be looking at what, 3,000 a night? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, 3,000, 4,000 a night. But I would
4,000 a night.
Yeah, I would also say though, if you were going to do that, you should consider what sort of setup works best depending on areas, because not all the areas a 3-bedroom would be a good buy for short-term letting. Areas like Langebaan, actually 2 to 3 bedrooms actually do better than single units. But if you were, for instance, buying in Blouberg, a 1-bedroom is actually the best buy, where about 52% of those bookings are for 1-bedroom units. So that would actually be a better move. And then when you have Sea Point and the Waterkant, then again, you're looking at more the 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, which has also got a higher outlay if you are an investor. I think with a 2-bedroom, you're looking at an average cost of around 37,000, and then it was 47 for the 3-bedroom. And that's to make it like really nice, where the setup cost on a 1-bedroom is like just over 26,000 rand. To make it really nice. So I think that would
What do you mean by that? What do you mean setup costs?
So I mean to get if you're purchasing a property that's unfurnished, I mean to get blankets and beds and couches and that sort of stuff. Like that's kind of the startup cost you need to be looking at as a rough guideline, depending on what your finishes are going to look like. But you can estimate on those. So if someone was an investor looking to come buy in the Western Cape, I would say Blouberg is still the best place to buy, because the startup cost is lower, because if you buy a 1-bedroom there, you're looking at around 1.8 million. And then your startup costs are around, like I said, 26, just over 26,000 Rand. So, and the returns are great there, and they're very much in line. They're not a lot more affordable than other areas in the Western Cape. So yes, you could get a place in the Waterkant. It's a more popular location, but you're also competing with a hell of a lot more inventory on that side. So you have to stay competitive in your pricing. So the pricing on that side for 1-bedroom, pricing for a 1-bedroom in Blouberg is very much the same, actually. And the demand is high in Blouberg, so it's a good buy there.
So when you mentioned 71% occupation, is that across Cape Town?
Yes, that's the average.
The whole Western Cape?
That's the
Does
average.
It include Langebaan? Average.
That's Cape Town. That's Cape Town, yeah. So Cape Town, from the map that I saw, that includes all the way up to Multiple Strand on the west coast. And it goes out until, I mean, look, the popular areas are the Atlantic seaboard and the west coast. That's a given. And then the other areas of interest are on the other side of the mountain, Constantia, Bishop's Court. But those are more for the wealthy. There's not a lot of affordable options for short-term rental there. And some of those are over 100,000 Rand a night even. So it's just
100,000 a night.
Yeah, there are places like that.
Okay.
I stand corrected, but I remember when we were looking for that other American family last year, they were looking to charge us 350K for a month's rental on a place, so that they could cover their costs.
Okay. And how have you found Stellenbosch? Because I know now you are venturing in there as well. What does that one development you are going into now to market, and how is Stellenbosch in general as an investor?
I think Stellenbosch has always been a popular location because of its history, and I think the history is nice. It's more of a location for student accommodation because of the university. That's a good drawing card, and then obviously the winelands. But yeah, there you for an apartment there, you're not going to get anything under 2 million that's close to the central Stellenbosch. So whenever you see things that are under 2 million, I would say do a site visit, because they're usually in less desirable areas around Stellenbosch, like close to the township of Kaimandi. But yeah, I love Stellenbosch. It's got a lot of history. It's got a lot of flora and fauna that's been there for years, like the squirrels as well, which is obviously a nice drawing card, quite cute.
I never heard of the squirrels being the drawing card for
No,
Stellenbosch.
it creates a great atmosphere.
Wine, yes.
Yeah.
Squirrels, no.
Well, for holiday makers, it's nice
Okay.
to be amongst nature, don't you think? Am I wrong in
No, I
saying
do.
that?
I did not realize the squirrels were the,
Yeah.
the drawing card, but
Yeah,
I mean,
look,
I
I
don't know.
definitely wouldn't use that as a pitch for someone to buy. If they were looking to buy an apartment, I'll be like, you've got neighboring squirrels. I wouldn't use that. But I think it's got a lot of restaurants. The wine is obviously a lot of vineyards around there. So yeah, it's a nice location. Have you not been to Stellenbosch before?
No, I have, but only for leisure. No, never from a business perspective to look at the properties. I've followed the journey of a friend who recently bought a 3-bedroom, very, very nice unit, but that was over close to 7 million, which, quite impressed me, in terms of what the price and how difficult it was to find something suitable, because they wanted a garage and they wanted a bigger unit, but at the same time lock up and go. And it took them a very long time to identify. So that's when I started realizing how different the market is, that side versus if someone walked up to me here in Gauteng and they said my budget is between 6 and 7 million, I will literally drown them in options. It will be, waking up with options, going to sleep with options. Whereas that side, you just keep looking, you're finding nothing, and eventually when you find something, you have to act super fast because there's another 3 people who are also now going for it.
Yeah. No, that's it. You don't get a chance. Comes to market and it's done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think with the Stellenbosch market, we still have a lot to learn there. But yeah, I think to me, the main areas of interest for tourists is the winelands. So your Franschhoek, your Stellenbosch, the Atlantic seaboard is a big one. Although the capital, the price per unit per square there is extremely high.
What are you looking at per square?
I'm not sure what the amounts are per square, but from what I can see, anything that's around 60 squares, you're not going to pick that up for under 3 million. Blouberg to me, as for short-term rentals, I think Blouberg is the best fit. Langebaan has a market. I wasn't able to get any research on it, unfortunately, but I would say that because of the people that I know that are selling, that are looking to buy in the Atlantic seaboard side because of the high interest there, it seems as if there isn't really an appetite for luxury rentals this far up where you can make large returns. So yeah, I would say for investors looking to buy in the Western Cape, I think Blouberg at the moment is probably the best fit. And because it's also the easiest point to entry, because you don't have to invest as much. The best performing are the 1-bedroom units, around 1.8. So.
All right. But what about that investor who wants a slightly bigger unit and in terms of luxury, they want that top end where they will also charge quite a bit more. I was looking at Camps Bay, for instance. Someone mentioned to us that they might be considering selling their unit, and just off the cuff, they were talking about 7 to 8 million.
Okay.
And I thought that sounded quite interesting in terms of price. It was a 2-bed. Okay. They haven't yet put it on the market, but I thought, wow, that's quite a jump from a 2-bed unit in a different area of 2 million. We're now sitting at 7 million in a...
That sounds about right, actually.
Sounds about right. Okay.
Yeah. And camp space
What
actually,
would you rent them for?
Sorry?
What would you rent those units for, though? Would it make sense to
I'm not, I can't really give feedback because I don't have the intelligence on what those would rent for. But the 8 mil, 7 mil, 8 mil price point sounds very, very like normal, actually. I mean, the German family that we were shopping for an investment property for, like you said, they had a great budget. And I literally could not, everything that was around 7 mil that had nice finishes was under offer. So, and that's a less desirable location than Campscape. So I'm not surprised at all at that market assessment of between 7 and 8 million for a 2-bedroom apartment there.
But I mean, technically then you need to be charging at least 4,000 to 5,000 a night at 70% occupancy to make it actually worth your while. So what you're saying then is you go for the cheaper units where you're not going to charge that much less per night.
Yeah, like I said, it's dependent on area as well. If you buy in Camps Bay, then the demand is going to be different to what the demand would be, for instance, in Blouberg. In Blouberg, 1-bedrooms perform better. And in other suburbs along the Atlantic seaboard, like I said, the Waterkant, Greenpoint, those sort of places are attracting more families and small groups of friends that are traveling together, whereas Blouberg is attracting single people a lot as well because it's a good central point for commuting if you're on business. So it totally depends. It depends on where you want to be. But yes, I would say that for it to make sense to buy something that's 7 to 8 million, put on a short-term rental market, then you would need to be getting those sort of returns in order to justify the investment.
Okay, so then just to recap, because I know you have to run Cape Town, lots of development happening, possibly a train coming, speed train, so we mustn't be scared of buying
speed
there.
Because I never said the speed train. I just said there was a rail line coming.
A how train? What would you call it? The Cape train?
The Cape train, yeah. Even the more affordable train options I have seen that they have been improving or fixing stations that had previously been decommissioned. They've brought them back online. And so I think our infrastructure is starting slowly but surely. We're starting to repair the infrastructure that's been damaged by the unions and I don't want to say who else. So I definitely see further improvements here. I don't see interest in the Western Cape slowing down. I think it's going to continue to increase when it comes to foreign investment. And I do believe, I am of the opinion that it will still get better in Gauteng. I think people are going to continue coming back to Gauteng just because you can live a better quality of life with the money that you earn. If you're wealthy, the Western Cape is great.
If you're not, restaurants more expensive than you get tiny steaks, or do you get big steaks for your money?
The steaks are great. Yeah, there's no problem with the steaks, and even the food costs insignificantly more. It's just really accommodation is very expensive, and I think that's the biggest cost that people have to compete with. Is first of all find a home, and then secondly affordability of a home.
But then, what about going into Langebaan? Because I know you've made that choice, and are you happy with it?
I love Langebaan. We often need to travel out of Langebaan for our clients, but it's worth it for me. I'm happy to make that trip out from Langebaan in order to accommodate them, just because the quality of life is great here. You have all of the things that the city has, with the exception of clothing shopping, which you still need to occasionally go to Central City for. But you still have although it's busier, you still have the small town feel in Langebaan, which is nice. So I like Langebaan, but it's not for everybody. I found the peace very nice. I found living here very nice.
And the walk on the beach, is it just as good as the walk on the beach in Cape Town?
It's not as populated, obviously. It looks like a scene from the Bible in the Western Cape where everyone comes to walk on the beach because there's so many of us there. But Langebaan is not yet there. It's more of it's a smaller group here in Langebaan.
Well, I can't wait to see how these walks have improved your 21K run. So that's, goals, to 2025 goals.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
right.
cool. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
So the message is keep buying in the Cape.
Yeah, I don't think you can make a bad investment here. I think buying for capital growth is going to be a good return. And when you buy here, and if you're buying as an investment, buy for short-term rental.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Message well noted. Okay. Cheers.
All right, cheers.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.